Hi, I'm Anna Hoffman, and welcome back to Data Expose MVP Edition. Today, I'm joined by Matt. Matt, thanks so much for coming back on Data Expose. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I'm the director of data and analytics for Lean Techniques. We are, of course, a Microsoft partner, so it's cool to show off some of the cool stuff that people may not know about that's hiding in both Azure SQL and Fabric as well. And I get to occasionally drive race cars. That's what most people find interesting about me. But
I think it's the sequel part. I think you're in good company here. No,
excellent.
driving cars is very cool. But thanks for coming on the show. Today we're going to be talking about. I really have no idea because this episode title is about automagic data anomaly detection. So I'm really excited to learn about this automagic term, how it applies to Fabric and SQL. So I'd love to just kind of maybe get right into it and ask you what's the scenario that this is about?
For sure. Yeah. So the scenario is let's imagine that there's a large soccer or football tournament, depending on where you're watching this from. Let's imagine that one of those is being hosted, and there's teams from all over the world in it. But we want to be sensitive of trademarks and all that. So, for example, let's call it the global glass, something like that. And with
Okay.
any large sporting event, there's a lot of people that want to buy tickets to it, and that's that are real people trying to take friends and family and all that. There's also some people that made some bots that are up to no good, and they will attempt to purchase the tickets via ways they're not supposed to. And what this is doing is basically we're using change event streaming in Azure SQL to simulate ticket sales for the final of the global glass. And then we're going to use anomaly detection in Fabric to smoke out that an anomaly has taken place. If none of that scenario sounds interesting to you at all, imagine that this is a series of like ETL pipelines running, and we're detecting anomalies as those run. And then we're using an activator to maybe take some action on that. So that's basically what we're setting up. But I wanted to keep it fun and topical, but trademark
Yeah.
friendly.
I love it. And it's very timely. So awesome. Cool. Okay. Let's take a look. Show me what you figured out.
Okay, so what we've got. So let me set the table here. So this looks like a bunch of boring T-SQL, and it kind of is. This is the setup for change event streaming. So what change event streaming does, if you're thinking it's like, oh, it's change tracking, it's change data capture, not really, because those change event streaming is capturing changes in the transaction log and all of that, but it's basically pushing those to a destination. So in this case, we're pushing it to an event stream in Fabric because I want to do some analysis on the ticket sales at as they happen. So what I do, and I'll kind of speed through this because it is dry, but I want people to know what the setup is you create a credential that basically allows the database to authenticate itself to Fabric. So it's got a managed identity, and you say you're allowed to go into Fabric and do stuff. From here, I create what's called an event stream group. You can see here, there's a lot of text. We've got the essentially URL of the event stream and all of that. You can also use Azure Event Hubs for this too. We pin it to the credential that I created up here. We say there's no scheme. I'm not partitioning this. This is raw data. I don't want to chop it up at all. I'm just going to do some very
Mhm.
quick analysis on it. And it's JSON. Then we create the table for the ticket sales itself. And then now that we've got the stream group and the table here, we add the table into the stream group. And from there, we can go into the event stream and see that things are running. So what I'm going to do is come over here to query one. And so we've already seeded because to detect an anomaly, you've got to have a good baseline on either side. So we've already given it some normal ticket sales here. And now we're going to run basically phase two, which is this is the bots up to no good. And
Okay.
so this is going to run for basically 20 seconds. So it's 20 seconds of ticket sales that are way out of the norm. Like we don't want those. And so I don't have any jokes to fill the last 5 seconds, but you can see the counter running on the bottom. It's a great way to show off that the query editor experience in Azure SQL is pretty cool too. And the global glass DB is running on Azure SQL Hyperscale, which is an awesome version of Azure SQL, fast and pretty inexpensive and all that. Anyway, so we've done that. So we basically said, here are the bad ticket sales that we want to capture. And now we're going to run phase 3, which is to give it the baseline on the other side. Because if you don't see that, if it's a sustained badness and it doesn't know
Right.
what normal looks like, the anomaly detection never happens. So
Makes
here
sense.
we're gonna run this for 30 seconds. And I've TV food showed this to some extent, but we can't entirely do it because I do want to show it live. It's not smoke and mirrors, it's not edited. But yeah, basically what we're doing is saying normal tickets, abnormal tickets, normal. So again, if you envision this running against like a data pipeline or something like that, most of the time it's going to operate normally, you'd hope. So the anomaly really should stick out. Because I'm creating test demo data here, you've got to go to a little bit of extra effort to make it look weird. So we've got that there. So we've got some rows in this table. I'll save you the query of the table itself. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into Fabric. And so our event stream is here, and this is pretty straightforward. We've got the custom endpoint source, which that's documented when you create when you set up change event streaming to land in an event stream. You set that up, and there's documentation how to do that. We'll skip that. Here's the event stream itself. So the data comes from SQL into here. I'm not doing anything to push that. It lands into the event stream, which lands into an Eventhouse, which, if you don't know what that is essentially a KQL database or Custo database in Fabric. And that allows a lot of time series analysis and all that. And since we're doing time series analysis here, pretty cool way to show this off. So
Nice.
we've got this here. So we're going back to live and we're going to our tabs. So we've got our anomaly chart. You can see ITV food show this to some extent, but we're going to run it again to show it. So what we've got here is trademark friendly global glass 2026. And we've got all these normal sales. These are just normal people going in and buying stuff. We've got this spike over
Mm,
here. And so the score is like how many standard deviations from the norm are we off here? That's not exactly it, but that's more or less it. And so you
mhm.
see we've got that spike of the stuff I ran. So all afternoon normal, this not so good. So what does that actually look like when I pull this out? So these are the anomalous rows, and we'll take a second to look at the KQL here as well. So these anomaly scores are very high. These are like several standard deviations and the other calculations that go into that away from what normal is. So these are flagged. So where in the query did I actually do that? So right here, we're basically saying like, okay, here's the score. I don't flag anywhere. If you're looking like, okay, where anomaly greater than whatever, series underscore decompose underscore anomalies and some of the stuff that goes around this does this for us. And there's a lot of good documentation around how this works. And I'm not going to take our time here to go through all that, but I haven't told it what an anomaly is. I've just said, look at the last 15 minutes, which is here, and then pick an anomalous event out. So it found them and it found the right ones. And then it outputs those here, sorts them and all that. So you might be saying like, okay, that's cool. What can I do with that? Like, that's great
Yeah.
information. That's something I couldn't easily know before. And it's coming from a SQL database that I have. I can create an activator off that here. So if I go to add alert, what I can do here is select an action to take. So in this case, it might be a message to the ticket sales team. It says, hey, somebody's up to no good. We need to block some IP addresses or something like that. I can give it various headlines, but I can do all this other stuff. I can run custom actions. So I can make it do basically anything. I can run other events. So if you're thinking this from a data quality standpoint, which is what's in the title,
Mhm.
I could run notebooks, I could run pipelines, I could run other stuff, and I could take an automatic action based on the anomaly that was detected. And that's all I've done. Basically just pulled some code out of docs, massaged it for this, and here we are.
Wow, that's super cool. And I want to go back to that line 13 because to me, this is the Automagic part you were talking
I
about.
agree. I agree. Yeah, there's a little more to it than that, but there's a lot of magic that goes on in there, and I'm not nearly good enough at math to explain all of it.
No, absolutely. But I think what's also super interesting about this scenario is one, it's a scenario we can all relate to, whether it's your global glass or your, we're doing anything with moving data around. And we want some insights into what's going on or any anomalies that come up. So it's definitely a probably high common scenario. And what's interesting is it seems like it was decently easy to set up. So I know kind of you showed us the what did you call it, like the food, the TV food show.
TV food
um,
show, like, here's the pie, and then I pull the finished pie out.
but
Yeah.
like just for kind of like a closing, like do you have any tips and tricks for folks who are maybe just getting started with this whole workflow, any piece of it? Like any advice for folks?
So it builds on a lot of concepts that are becoming more and more normal. So if you don't know what a managed identity is, becoming familiar with that. Basically, I gave my Azure SQL database an identity, and then I gave it the ability to connect to Fabric and do things. That's more than we can cover here as far as how you do that, but understanding that, beyond that, like it's just SQL. I pulled the T SQL essentially straight out of the docs. There's a really good doc on it. And the Fabric stuff was started out as kind of what's in the documentation, but I customized it for my use for this.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Matt, thanks so much for coming on the show. I am really looking forward to watching Global Glass 2026. Um, and if you like this episode, viewers, go ahead and leave it a like, leave us a comment, and let us know what you think, what you're going to use this for. And we'll put some links in the description for you to learn more. And we hope to see you next time on Data Expo's MVP Edition.